Hey guys, it's Tara. Today I'm going to be reading Song for a Whale, chapters 3 and 4. So let's get started. Even though electronics is a sciencey thing, science was the one class where I wasn't reading about it on the sly. Usually I paid attention to what was going on in there because I liked science and my teacher, Sophia Alamila. I even liked the way her name rolled off my hand like a wave when I spelled it out. Miss Alamila wrote the letters HZ on the board. "Remember what this stands for?" she asked. A few hands went up, and Miss Amalina called on me. I spelled out Hertz, and Mr. Charles voiced Hertz for her and the class. "That's right," said Miss Amalina. Miss Alamila. "And what does it measure?" "The frequency of sound." I wonder why Miss Alamila was reviewing frequencies. We'd taken the test on this months ago. "I found something that ties in nicely with what we're studying now," she said, as if she'd heard me. "It's about a special whale, and you'll see why the frequency of his song is important." Miss Alamila pressed some keys on the computer at her desk. Her eyeglasses reflected the video that played. The projector screen in front of the room showed a big blue square with no signal on the corner. I was heading to Miss Alamila's desk even before she signed, "Please help me." After restarting the video and pausing it, I connect the computer to the projector signals and click the CC at the bottom of the screen to turn on the closed captioning. The video started out with the whale swimming in the ocean. Because of the captions, I could read the words on the screen instead of Mr. Charles' hands. The dark gray-blue body of the whale filled up the screen, his tail waving up and down. The narrator in the video talked about the whale called Blue 55, who swam around by himself and not in a pod like most whales. As far as anyone knew, it had always been that way. He didn't have any friends or family to swim or talk to. He was a type of a baleen whale, the kind that ate plankton and small fish, not the kind with teeth that ate squid and seals. But he was a hybrid. His mother was a blue whale, and his father was a fin whale. "The problem," said the narrator, "is Blue 55's unique voice. Most whales call out frequencies of 35 hertz and lower, while his lonely whale sounds are at around 55 hertz, only about 20 hertz off, but it made a big difference. He was speaking a language that only he knew. Furthermore, his song in his unique pattern, even if other whales could hear him, they don't understand what he's saying. Blue 55 likely couldn't communicate with his own parents." My stomach tightened into a ball. I wanted another whale on the screen swimming up to Blue 55, or at least to look at him. The strange calls of Blue 55 were first detected by naval sonar in the late 1980s. Marine biologists figured out what was making the sounds and why the whale was all alone in the ocean. I didn't notice until the words on the screen blurred, and my eyes were watery. Mr. Charles handed me a tissue from his pocket. Maybe I'd sniffled or something. "Allergies," I signed, without looking away from the video. The narrator went on to say that researchers from a marine sanctuary had tried to put a tracker on Blue 55 the year before so they could follow his migration pattern, which was also weird and unlike other whales. They did a sample of his skin to test. That was how they figured out his parents had been different species before they could attach the tracker to him. They dove down and swam away. He wouldn't need to resurface for a breath for another 20 minutes. Without a tracker on him, the only way anyone ever knew where he was swimming was from the underwater microphones that picked up on his song. I didn't remember standing up, but the video ended and Miss Alamila started talking. I had to look down to see Mr. Charles. Everyone's eyes were on me, and I slid back down into my chair. My textbook was on the floor. I must have knocked it off my desk when I stood up. I left it at my feet. "Can you imagine that?" Miss Alamila asked. "Swimming around for all those years, unable to communicate with anyone?" "Yes." She said something about frequencies, but I wasn't paying attention anymore. I'd looked through Mr. Charles as if I could see that the whale on the screen. As if I could still see the whale on the screen. Blue 55 didn't have a pod of friends or a family who spoke his language, but he still sang. He was calling and calling, and no one heard him. Chapter 4. He hadn't always swum alone. Long ago, when the loudest sounds of the ocean were the songs of whales, he had a pod. Those first whales had tried to talk to him. Every day they worked to change their songs to something like his. He returned their calls, but his sounds meant nothing to them. He heard the other whales, but nothing he sang back made sense. They thought he didn't understand. They communicated to one another, past him, through him, across him, like he was a coral reef or a kelp forest they passed by. But he heard all of it. He understood them when they despaired, giving up on ever hearing him, and when they lamented, he would never be able to contribute to the pod. He couldn't warn them of coming predator or announce the scent of waters that were good for feeding. Yes, I can, he bellowed. There were waves full of krill. He turned to show them the way. He sang his message, struggling to match the sounds of the whales around him. But the sea grabbed his song and dragged it away, too high for others to reach. One night he awoke to float to the surface for a breath. He found himself alone. After so much time, with so many songs unheard, his family had left him. He called out, "Where are you? And what will I do now?" Knowing no answer would come, knowing the sounds held meaning only for himself. All right, that's the end of chapter 3 and 4. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you guys had a good time following along. And that's it for chapters 3 and 4 of Song for a Whale. I'll see you guys for chapter 5.